Welcome back to another SUPboarder review, and this week we're going to be looking at the massive FatStick Airbourne 11-foot fishing touring SUP. FatStick are a born and bred UK based company that strive at making good quality SUPs at very affordable prices. The specifications for this 11-foot Airbourne is 35 inches wide, it's 6 inches thick, it has a volume, it doesn't actually say the volume, but it's going to be very, very big. It weighs 19 kilograms, it retails at $549, and it has a 2+1 fin setup with a US centre box fin. The materials it's made out of are drop stitch internal core, double layer, 2 PVC layers around the outside, and it's also got these side pontoon sort of inflatable ribs. They're not drop stitched, they're just made of their PVC, so they're hollow inside, and it's aimed for SUP fishing, SUP touring, anything where you can put a lot of weight on the board. The SUPboard impressions of the 11-foot Airbourne, I mean, it's massive. Just look at it to the size of me on the screen. This board is large and it is incredibly stable. To be honest, just the sort of thing you want if you want to go SUP fishing, you want to go touring. You want to be able to put a lot of weight on your board at the front and at the back, and the board will take it. With the extra pontoons as well, it is, there's a few other brands out there that have used these sort of things. You might have seen it in the whitewater SUP market before. Makes the board incredibly stable, a bit more like having stabilisers on a bike. These pontoons really do make a massive difference to the board. The actual finish of the board, this is the camo version we've been testing. There is also a white and yellow version coming soon too. It has multiple carry points, which actually you do need just for the size of the board, because it's very hard. 35 wide, I can just about get my arm to the centre handle, but some other people might not, so they might have to use the side handles. Lots of bungee points and tie down points, so you can put stuff at the front. There's even clip points here, maybe you could put a seating arrangement here, and more bungees here. Handles at the back, leashing points, handles at the front. It really has got a lot of handles, which is really a good thing, especially if you're into that touring. You want to clip random things and places and types, banks, and lots of fixing points everywhere. This board's been pumped up for about 4 weeks now, and it's stayed at the same pressure, which is at 17.5 psi, which is what we pumped it up at, and we put it into our deflection test at that pressure as well, which is where we put the board at a gap of 1.5 meters apart and 75 kilograms of weight on the centre. This board only dropped 14 millimeters. It is quite hard to measure the deflection test on this board because of these side sort of pontoons here, but at this board at 6 inches it will feel pretty stiff anyway. The fin set at the board is, so it's a 2+1, so it's got two super flexible indestructible side fins, and it also comes with a one flexi US box fin that fits in a nice US box. It's all well finished off. Nice that it comes with a US box that you can put a standard fin in. Then if you're going to paddle in weedy or really shallow rivers, or you can put a smaller fin, have no fin. You can have a bigger fin if you want it to track better. So that's a good feature, having a US box on these sort of boards. So this is a fishing and a touring SUP, but we're going to give it a bit more of a sort of fishing based review. The review very much is similar for the touring as well, because obviously touring you just want to basically be able to paddle easily and put a large amount of weight on it too. When you're looking for a fishing SUP, there's three basic things you want to be looking for. You want to be looking for ease of paddling, you want to be looking for how quiet the board is, and you also want to be looking for how stealthy the board is. So we start on the first one, ease of paddling. You want to be able to get a lot of weight on the board and paddle out in a bit of chop and go out and find some fishing spots. This is what I mean, it's very similar to the touring aspect. Put a light weight, go places, go down rivers, go out in choppy seas. The board, for its width, actually paddles very well. 35 wide, we thought that you probably would struggle and you wouldn't be able to get your arm in properly to paddle the board. Okay, it's no racing machine, but actually it does paddle well, especially for the width. It tracks quite well, and I think that's due to the extra pontoons, which are actually giving a bit more directional glide to the board. You could also upgrade to a bigger fin to give you even more straight line tracking. But then because of that 35 inches wide, it does give you a huge amount of standing area and area to place equipment on the front and back. Incredibly stable. You could put a dog, you could have a picnic table at the back, you could probably bring your friends with you at the same time. So it really is an incredibly stable SUP. So also maybe you're looking for a very stable SUP, you're a bigger paddler, then this sort of board you could also look at too. The paddling quiet side, this is an interesting one. A lot of people might not be aware of it, but basically a very noisy paddleboard where you're fishing is a big no-no in shallower waters. You don't want a board that slaps or makes a racket. That's why inflatable paddleboards generally when fishing are really good, because they're quite quiet. They don't make much slapping noise on the bow. So this board is very quiet, and also with the pointy nose and the sort of pontoon ribs side here, it doesn't make very much water noise, so it does paddle well, again, for the fishing aspect. And the other last one, the stealth of the fishing. One thing you don't want to be doing when you're SUP fishing is making your board in shallow waters look like a shark or a seal. So when the fish is looking up, they don't want to see a big black shape, which means menacing, I'm out of here. So the good thing that the FatStick have done, they've put a grey bottom on this. When we first saw this camo top, we were like, oh, cool camo. But we thought if that's on the bottom, it's going to make it look incredibly dark, not stealthy. It's going to look up and it's just going to look like a big shark or a seal, and it's going to scare the fish right off. So they put a light grey bottom on it. Good move. If the pontoons were half grey, half camo, that would have been superb for the stealth factor. A little bit more about the side pontoons or the ribs down the side of the board. If you're paddling and you've got your fishing rod out the front and you need to drop the paddle quickly, the paddle naturally sits and lies in one of these grooves really well and doesn't rock around. That's actually, I'm not sure if they thought about it, but it's a really good aspect from the fishing sense. So you can put your paddle in, there's lots of deck area, and if any rod in fact rolled off the side, it would come and fall into this side of the pontoon gap. A really nice little feature. Not sure if it's designed in, but a really good feature from the fishing side. Just to reiterate, the touring is going to be very much the same. You can still get masses of weight on the front. It tracks okay. It's not incredibly quick at 35 wide, but it's a lot better than you'd think it would be at 35 wide. It does paddle okay, and I would be happy to take it on a long distance, but it would aid itself more to a proper adventure where you really want to put 50, 60 kilos on the front of these boards and paddle them a long way for a week or 2 weeks at a time. For popping around your local estuary for a quick paddle, maybe look at something else, but if you're going for a full-on expedition, this board will be a good board to look at. Negatives or downsides to the 11-foot Airbourne: it is heavy at 19 kilograms. It is a lot of board. There's a lot of material in it, so we understand why it's heavy, but it is just a little bit cumbersome to carry around. So if you've got to carry it a long way, just bear in mind it does weigh a little bit. Value for money? Well, it's definitely the biggest board on the market for its value at $549. If you're after a big, stable, inflatable SUP, this is definitely one to look at and try and have a go on. The overall SUPboarder verdict: the biggest iSUP we've ever tested for the cheapest money we've ever tested. The stability of this thing is unbelievable. Whether it's you want to go SUP fishing, or you want to go touring, or you want a huge board to take the whole family on at the same time, the 11-foot Airbourne from FatStick would be a good choice and one to look at. Hey, it's Ruben from SUPboarder, and I'm going to give you the test of the FatStick Airbourne SUP.